Madam Halimah Yacob, President of Singapore, members of the academic staff of the National University of Singapore, Emeritus Minister Goh Chok Tong and wife, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I would like to say thank you very much for this singular honor of being conferred the Honorary Doctorate in Law by the National University of Singapore. I will value this honorary doctorate for as long as I live. Singapore, of course, is not strange to me. I was here way back in 1947. At that time, Singapore and Malaysia were ruled by the British as a single protectorate. But as we all know, eventually we became two separate nations. This is an achievement for two countries. Normally, when nations separate, there would be violence. But in the case of Malaysia and Singapore, the separation was smooth and good relations continue. That good relations, I believe, has led to my being conferred this honorary degree. Singapore and Malaysia remains good neighbors. Yes, we do have problems. There may be some competition between us, but by and large, we have been able to resolve this problem in a very peaceful way. It is something that should be noted by a lot of countries, because in many countries, when there are conflicts between them, they resort to violence and wars in order to resolve their problems. But in the case of Malaysia and Singapore, we hope we have set an example of how neighboring countries can resolve problems between them. I will always value my stay in Singapore for nearly 6 years. I was here studying medicine at the then King Edward VII College of Medicine, which, as you know, later on was amalgamated with Raffles College to form the University of Malaya. And upon separation, the University of Malaya was divided into two, one to become the University of Malaya still, and the other one to become the National University of Singapore. So the ties between us have been developed very early during our formative years. And I'm glad to know that even now there is cooperation between the University of Singapore and the universities in Malaysia. I was very impressed by the results of that cooperation, especially in the treatment of leukemia. This affects many children, and it is important that we make progress in this field. But apart from that, there are other areas of cooperation between the two universities. Research is now a necessity and a part of the program of all universities. Research is very costly. Sometimes research would be duplicated. But in the case of Malaysia and Singapore, again, we have shown the example of how two institutions can work together and in research in order to develop something that would help society as a whole and the sick people in particular. This is something that should be given support by both governments, the Malaysian government, and I'm quite sure the Singapore government also. There are a lot of things to do now because the world is changing. We are moving into the fourth industrial revolution. We are now in the knowledge age. We are now talking about artificial intelligence, about e-commerce and e-government. So things are quite different now than what it was when I first came to Singapore to study. For the younger generation, acquisition of this new knowledge is absolutely essential. You have to acquire this new knowledge, but this new knowledge is not static. It's developing all the while. And it may be that if you graduate in any particular field, you may find that the jobs waiting for you require other fields of knowledge. But that should not disappoint you, because with the basic knowledge that you have acquired at the universities, you will be able to make adjustment. As you know, the old will fade away and the young will succeed them. And the young must be prepared to take over the places left empty by the old. They must be prepared for greater feats in each nation of ours. We have to pioneer many areas, and already we have shown that through the cooperation between Malaysia and Singapore, we have come up with many new ideas, new strategies, which contribute much towards the development of society and nations of the world. We believe that what we do is not for ourselves alone, but for humanity at large. It is our duty to leave this world better than when we arrived. That is something that we must do if we value life itself. Life is not something that we pass through, but something that teaches us the complexities of life. And as a result of our understanding, we will develop better systems and better ideas about how life and society should be conducted. I would like to say thank you very much for the kind words addressed about me, and I would like to say that this encourages me to continue and hope that I will be able to contribute something to my country, to our two countries, and to the world itself. Thank you.